It's nice to see that in a landscape where live service is often mismanaged by games, that a game in its infancy stages still is already doing pretty well with how it looks to keep players engaged just beyond its good gameplay loops. Today I want to take a bit of time to discuss Delta Force Hawk Ops with you further and talk about a few updates that honestly I think prove to be some good news here for the upcoming play experience across the next couple of days to weeks. So as we go along, drop your thoughts down below. What do you guys think of this? What do you think of what you've seen so far with Delta Force Hawk Ops? Are you looking forward to getting your hands on if you haven't already? Not too interested, whatever the case, let me know. But if you enjoy the video, you find it at all insightful, do me a favor, drop a like on it. Of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe for more Delta Force Hawk Ops coverage, Black Ops 6 coverage as we gear up for COD Next and the multiplayer reveals and everything like that. A lot of cool stuff in the FPS space we've got up on deck here in the near future, so I'd love to have you in the community. But for now, let's get into it. So, Delta Force Hawk Ops, a brief recap here. It's a free-to-play first-person shooter that's reigniting the classic Delta Force IP. Albeit not exactly in the way that FPS veterans may remember it. This has a few elements of like hero shooters and seemingly takes inspiration from a lot of different popular experiences right now. But this time around, it brings large-scale combat and Havoc Warfare, a 32v32 mode that is kind of akin to Conquest from Battlefield, but in a sort of standard flag capture mode, but also a progressive style mode of that where there's attackers and defenders, multiple checkpoints per se, where you capture objectives or differing stages of flags, and you have 300 lives as a team per checkpoint. There's that, and then you also have the extraction shooter mode, hazard operations as a part of that larger tactical turmoil playlist set that will then eventually have variations of modes and stuff like that in time, but it's your standard extraction loop gameplay. I've said it a few times now that I think this is kind of a perfect in-between of an extraction loop and the one side of the scale that's the hardcore offering like Tarkov, Gray Zone, things like that that are a lot more tactical, a lot more demanding of players in terms of communication, education, and understanding of gameplay items and mechanics, as well as other factors, and then just the opposite side of that spectrum of just a very simplified shoot, loot, get out of there type of thing. To me, this is kind of the next steps of what DMZ could have been as an example. Very entry level, easy to pick up, addictive, and best of all, free like other offerings of the game. The hazard operations side of this game is honestly surprisingly fleshed out and very in-depth for just a PC alpha, but we covered more of that kind of stuff, thoughts and impressions on it a couple of days ago in a 20-minute video breaking down everything. So if you guys want the real nitty-gritty about what the game is all about, that's the video for you. But while only being live for a little over a week, the game's already handling live service, updates, and all pretty well for just a PC alpha. Here's what they're up to. As of yesterday, they added another extraction map to the fold, making that 3 on offer now. Zero Dam, Leali Grove, and this new one called Space City, which is a rocket facility complete with production, testing, and staging areas, along with office buildings and complexes, a lot of stuff like that. So a lot of open areas, but also a lot of close quarters engagements, simulating the open-aired nature of an actual compound, but also the tight, compact spaces that you'd see in more interiors of buildings and production facilities and such. So I feel like this is a nice contrast all in one, giving a little bit of everything here for whatever style of play you want to, but because of this, it also makes it pretty tough in some situations to extract safely. Also, I'm just a big fan of the sort of vibe of the design of the map. Sleek and futuristic, but also kind of ominous, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if that's just like the way that I see this or if that's like actually a decent way to explain it, but a new map added no less. Excited to actually jump in and dive further into this one here in the coming days. This weekend's pretty insanely busy for me that I haven't been able to dive too far into it, but new map added. We also saw on the sort of Havoc Warfare side of things, the 32v32 larger scale multiplayer aspect, we have a new mode called King of the Hill. This is a spin on the simple attack and defend objective gameplay loop, where teams can fight over a singular set of sometimes rotating locations, but if you control those points, you end up gaining additional points for your team while holding it. You can lose those, and the extra points and modifiers go towards the enemies, so of course that's where the King of the Hill designation comes from. But we're still not done here, because we end up also seeing introduced our new events for this week, both weekend and going throughout the rest of the week. We have the Mandelbrick Showdown, which is, of course, for those unaware, the sort of like weapon cases from DMZ, the high value items that then mark you for the entire map to see if you do pick them up. But the Mandelbrick Showdown will last until next Thursday, where during the event, if you extract with a Mandel brick in Tactical Turmoil. You'll get some higher level rewards. Weekend Carnival is a limited time event that goes until Monday, so just for this weekend, where the drop rate of Mandel bricks will be temporarily increased, adding to the sort of value of that Mandel brick showdown. And also the chance of encountering flagship contracts in match will be increased as well, offering more utility and more loot once you complete those. Dam Infiltration will last until next Thursday, where during this you can complete investigations in Zero Dam to earn additional rewards. And Famous Firearms is an event where you have to log in and just claim customized firearms via the in-game mail system. So a lot of cool stuff here in regards to just playable aspects and incentivizing, checking out more stuff in the game. The new Operator of Hack Claw, a hacker-based class, is something that is available now for everyone throughout the weekend. And of course, you do have that additional map of Havoc Warfare at some point still coming. No idea on when that will be, they haven't said, but it seems like with how quickly everything is moving, how they already put out just a week later a brand new extraction map, that other map for the multiplayer aspect of things seems to be maybe on the horizon, maybe next week, the week following, but sometime soon, of course, because we know this alpha isn't going to last forever for one, but also, again, the speed at which they're moving is pretty fast, so I wouldn't expect that to be held off for too much longer. Now, that said, that's some cool stuff to have immediately, some big updates in terms of content and having new experiences for the player to take advantage of, but it's not the only good news. When we take a look at this kind of stuff, when we see that there's already this much love and attention going into it in an early PC alpha, when not everyone even has their hands on it just yet, it seems to be indicative of something larger here, the sort of plans for the game going forward even further into this. And along this way, the team behind Delta Force has been great with their communication. And that's something that if you've been around the channel, you know that that is one of the things that I value the most as a player. Obviously, content and the gameplay experience is very important, but also hearing from the studios in any capacity is always very welcomed, I think, especially when they're very communicative about their plans, when they give insight into design decisions and sort of changes and why they were made, things like that. One big thing that was recently mentioned that we didn't really get around to talking about too much, but was something that I think is incredibly important, is the fact that they mentioned specifically there are no pay-to-win elements ever planned for this game. That's huge for one, because as we've talked about plenty of times, just the economics of a game as a whole is, well, if it's free to play, they got to make money somewhere else to end up keeping the lights on, paying the developers, keeping the game upkept. So where does that come from? Obviously, we've seen this happen with plenty of different games, leaning hardcore into cosmetics, sometimes into pay-to-win features. Another game in the extraction loop has just recently gone into early access, and that's one of the big controversies right now with it. Not to name any names, but there is that worry all the time when you have free-to-play, that how will this be something that is monetized? Will it be overdone? Will it be something that actually offers genuine bonuses to players that you can't get without paying for it? So it's beautiful to hear that kind of thing here. I'm also very happy that this sentiment hasn't changed at all from whenever I had heard first discussions about this months ago. One of the things, like in the middle of that timeline, from first hearing about the whispers of this to now seeing it officially confirmed, was when I was at Summer Game Fest in June back in LA. I sat down, played the game a little bit, talked with some of the developers, and they were very adamant about that. But in game, something you don't see right now with the PC alpha was that there were already in an early build so much in terms of weapon skins and customization that that's probably just where they're leaning into, all cosmetic stuff and just a large number of cosmetic items. So nice to see that there is no pay to win. Beautiful for sure. And then one thing that apparently they mentioned here is the plans for further playtests and the initial release. Now, right now, of course, we do have that PC alpha, but it is something that's only restricted to the PC alpha. Q4 upcoming, so the next couple of months here, may end up seeing the early access release where players can get larger hands-on here at this, where it's not an invite-only thing just on PC. But then a Q1 2025 release, anywhere from January to March, I mean, that's still right around the corner. That's not too far away. So it's nice to see that we are very close to getting hands-on for a lot more players than just this small sort of PC alpha that's available right now. So big things I'm hoping here for the future of Delta Force. Been having a blast with it thus far. That's where we're gonna wrap it up. Let me know your thoughts down below. What do you guys think of Delta Force and what you've seen so far? Liking the looks of it? Maybe not so much. Have you played it? What do you think of it? Let me know down below. But if you enjoyed the video, you found it out all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so it's a single thing regarding all things Delta Force, Black Ops 6, and other FPS coverage. A lot of stuff up on deck here that you guys will not want to miss, and I'd love to have in the community for. So for now, thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care, and peace.